My net worth is $190,000. Crazy. That is just really crazy to me. But let's get into the video. First off, this yellow, I think it's so pretty. So pretty. I love it. But anyways, hey friends, my name is Maria. I'm a 31-year-old data engineer living in Ohio, and before we get into the numbers, I want to talk about some of the privileges that I've had that helped me get to where I'm at today. The first thing is that, like I said, I'm 31 years old and I live with my parents. And so I live with my parents a majority of my life, but also a majority of my adult life, and all but about a year or so that I've lived with my parents. And that is a huge blessing. They don't charge me rent. And so easily, even if rent was $1,000 a month, which transparently I probably wouldn't be staying anywhere where rent was $1,000 a month. But if it was $1,000 a month, over 12 months, that's $12,000 a year. Over 10 years, because I've almost 10 years since I graduated college, that's 120 grand. And so granted, some of that might have gone to a mortgage if I lived elsewhere, but that's easily six figures that I can spend or invest instead of putting towards rent or a mortgage. So that's one thing. The second thing is that I had my college paid for by my parents. And so that is just a huge blessing as well. I ended up going out of state for school, and that was easily $250,000. And so I did not have to front any of that. I will caveat and say my parents are immigrants. Both of them had 3 jobs when they first came here. Both of them worked at a gas station. My mom was held at gunpoint. Dad was selling his blood for money. All these different things. Like, their come up has been a really great story, but also they chose very lucrative careers. And so that has been probably the biggest help to getting me to where I'm at today. So truly they came to live the American dream and they're living it out. I think it's important to say all of that up front, but now let's get into the numbers. Oh, and another privilege is that I am a child of an immigrant. I think immigrant mentality truly is a blessing in a lot of ways. But one thing was that I interned at the company that I currently work for during the summer between my junior and senior years in college. I remember that summer, I didn't live with my parents at the time, but that summer I had more money than I knew what to do with. And I remember being like, Mom, I have like 8 grand, something like that. What do I do with this money? Like, I already bought my Longchamp, which for me, that was like the thing I wanted. It's $150. I bought my Longchamp. I was planning to buy a new computer because my old computer was quite literally dying. And I think I dropped it and it wasn't the most sturdy. But I was planning to buy a computer, bought my Longchamp, was like, I don't know what else to do with this money. And knowing that I had college paid for, whatever, I went to my mom and she's like, oh, let's put it in a Roth IRA immediately. So literally, maybe that same day, that weekend, we maxed out the Roth IRA at the thing. I think at the time, the amount was $5,000 or $5,500. And so max that out. That's when I first was introduced to investing. I think I say this because at the time I was 21 and my mom was like, Maria, max this out every year if you can. Like, put money in here. So at 21, I'm being introduced to investing, buy and hold mentality. And so throughout the rest of my college career, I think I had 3 more semesters after that. And I put in like $33 a month towards it. So definitely wasn't maxing it out, but was intentional about tithing and investing. And so that mentality has definitely helped me get to where I'm at today. And also just my mom knowing about investing and investing well. She didn't go and say, buy a new wardrobe, buy a new car, go buy a new this and that. She said, invest. Okay. So that had it in the back of my mind. Granted, I was doing like $33 a month. It wasn't crazy. But I knew that once I was getting internships or full-time job that I would be intentionally trying to max it out. And so again, I was 21, 22, 23, intentionally trying to max out my IRA. So that as well is a big help. Of course, there are other privileges as well, but I think the biggest contributors are definitely my parents being immigrants and having a very immigrant mentality towards money. Like, you don't need to flash it. You'd rather be rich than look rich. So that was ingrained to me. They never said that verbatim, but they drove beater cars for a long time. But anyways, let's get into the numbers. First things first, what is net worth? Net worth is assets minus liabilities. So assets is what you own, and then liabilities are any debt that you have. And so that could be a mortgage, student loans, car debt, credit card debt, whatever. For my assets, I have three main categories, and you can see here. Cash is about $30,000, investments is $422,000, and then other assets, my car is about $11,000. And so for cash, most of that is my emergency fund. A little bit of that is sinking funds for travel and whatnot. But most of it is emergency funds. Most of it is this 21,000 emergency fund, and then a little bit in my checking. That fluctuates. I think I just got paid at that time. And then yeah, US bank savings. I try to keep $1,000 in the checking account that's connected to my savings account. And then my emergency fund, and the rest of the money is in what is called a high yield savings account. And so if you're interested in signing up for one, it's just, I mean, I think it's like 4% rate right now. So that's way better than the generic savings accounts that all these banks offer. So if you are interested, I have a code that you get an extra, I think it's a 0.5%. You get an extra 0.5% and I get an extra 0.5%. So it's win-win. So anyways, that's cash. So 30 grand in cash. Next, investments. So investments is, you can see over here the allocation, which I think this is really cool. Pre-tax, I do have some traditional 401k money. And then post-tax is my Roth IRA, and taxable is my brokerage account. If we go to pre-tax, most of, oh yeah, and profit sharing. So of my pre-tax investments, a majority of it is my profit sharing, which is from my company. My company does not do a 401k match, they do profit sharing. Profit sharing means that everyone gets a slice of the pie no matter if you contribute to a 401k. It also means that our profit sharing amount that we get annually is fully dependent on how the company does and how much profit we have to share. It's interesting that it's interesting seeing it like this. I don't know if other companies would show their contribution. I guess they probably would over time. But seeing it be larger than my 401k is crazy. But there was just a couple months, maybe a year, where I was contributing half to my traditional 401k and half to my Roth. This is the traditional part of it, to HSA. I do want to start just paying out of pocket, which I don't know if I'll start in 2025 or 2026, but I do want to start paying out of pocket and then slowly paying myself back as the money grows. So using it actually as more of a retirement account than just a day-to-day health account, like checking account. And then post-tax retirement, so I have my Roth 401k and my Roth IRAs. Roth 401k, that's predominantly what I've been contributing to. Obviously, it's a lot larger than the traditional. And then Roth IRAs, so it's about 90,000 across both of those. And then moving on to taxable brokerage, 100 grand even, that's crazy. And my Apex, so Apex is my financial advisor's brokerage, who they go with. I don't know if you can actually invest through Apex without going through a financial advisor. I'm not sure. But then I have Vanguard and I have Robinhood. Robinhood is just single stocks that I've chosen, like majority of it I chose in 2020 when the crash happened, and I just don't really plan to sell. But actually a majority of that is mostly Tesla. I think I don't know how much Tesla I have, but I just checked the other day. I think I bought one Nvidia in 2020 and now it's like 40 that I have, which is just crazy. I guess they've done a split. Those are my investments. And then the last asset class that I have, again, I don't have a house, live with my parents, don't have a mortgage. Last asset class that I have is my car. So estimating about $7,000 for my car, and then my computer. This was like a very bougie computer. So I'm estimating $3,000 if I sold it back to Apple. I'm not really sure anymore, but that is my estimates. I believe one time I did actually go in and see how much they would buy it for. So I believe these numbers are somewhat accurate. Things that are interesting on here, it's just interesting seeing it creep up over time. That's just really fun. And then looking at the increases over the year, I have to be consistent with putting in the numbers in order to see what the percentage increases are. Yeah, it's crazy. And then you can see here that I did hit Coast Fire for, I think this is age 55 and spending $2,500 a month. Also hit Coast Fire for age 55 and spending $3,500 a month. I think the next step will be also age 55 and 5500 or 4500, and then slowly lowering the age down. And the last thing off this dashboard that's interesting is just seeing the growth. Like I'm not almost at A- towards getting to $500,000. That's crazy. And then $1 million, a little less than halfway. So it's encouraging seeing these fill up. Another thing that's interesting is that in January, I had a $360,000 net worth. Now it's at 464. That to me is crazy. 100 grand. So I contributed about 65,000 towards investments, and about 35,000 was just the growth, which is just crazy, 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 crazy. So it's like I did 2/3, investments did 1/3. Investing is just truly the 8th wonder of the world. So anyways, that's it for this video. I would highly encourage you to track your net worth if you're not already. It can be really encouraging. Even if you like have a lot of debt and you're paying it down, but seeing the number go up because your liabilities are going down, I think would be very encouraging, having a visual of the number. So that's it for this video. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see or dig into. Happy to do it. I love numbers and I enjoy personal finance, so it goes well together. But you made it to the end, so that means you should give it a like. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.